Long ago, before even the oldest elder was born, there was a race called humans. They lived among the stars, just like the other great races. They were curious, brave, and fast learners. Some said they were too fast. Some said they changed things too quickly. Then, one day, the humans left. They disappeared. No one knew why. Some said they had destroyed themselves. Others said they had gone far away, to places no one could reach. The elders told stories about them. Stories of power and cleverness. Stories of a people who did not wait for permission to change things. Over time, those stories became mornings. And now, the humans had come back. A great silver ship appeared at the edge of the known worlds. It was large and smooth, shaped like a shining crescent moon. It did not make any threats. It did not demand anything. It only sent a simple message. We are from Earth. We come in peace. We wish to speak. The Elder Council gathered at once. They met in the high hall, where tall windows showed the stars beyond. Elder Siren, who was the oldest among them, spoke first. I knew this day would come, Siren said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. The humans have returned. We must be careful. Elder Toma was the youngest of the council. He listened quietly at first, as he always did. Toma was different from the others. He liked to explore new ideas. He believed in listening before judging. Why do we fear them? Toma asked softly. They have not harmed us. They only asked to talk. Elder Bryn, who sat beside Siren, shook his head. Because humans change things, he said, and change brings danger. Toma looked out the window. Far away, he could see the tiny shape of the human ship. It did not look dangerous. It only seemed different. The elders spoke for hours. Some wanted to send the humans away. Others said they should listen first. At last, they agreed to let the humans come closer. On the second day, the human ship moved toward their world. It flew quietly through space, stopping at a safe distance. Another message came. We respect your space. We wish to meet in peace. Our leader will come alone if you wish. This surprised many elders. A leader coming alone was a sign of trust. Or perhaps it was a trick, some of them said. Elder Siren frowned, but he nodded. We will see them, he said, but we will be careful. Toma volunteered to be among those who would welcome the human leader. The others were not sure, but Toma smiled gently. I am curious, he said. Curiosity is not a crime. The day of the meeting came. Toma stood on the landing platform, high above the green world of Villar. The sky was clear. The stars were bright. A small craft from the human ship floated down like a silver feather. It landed softly. A door opened, and then she stepped out. The human leader was a woman. She was tall and calm. Her eyes were bright but kind. She wore simple clothes, not armor. She carried no weapon. She smiled, and it was not the smile of someone who wished to trick or harm. It was the smile of someone who wished to understand. I am Mara, she said. Her voice was clear and warm. Thank you for seeing me. Toma bowed his head. I am Toma, he said. Welcome to Valar. Behind Toma, Elder Siren watched closely. He said nothing at first. He was waiting, watching for a reason to fear. But Toma did not feel fear. He only felt interest. Perhaps the stories were wrong. Perhaps humans had changed. Or perhaps they had not. But change was not always bad. As Mara walked beside Toma, heading toward the council hall, she looked around quietly. Your world is beautiful, she said softly. Thank you, Toma answered. It has been peaceful for a long time. Mara smiled again. Peace is something we hope to find as well. And so, the first steps were taken. Steps that might lead to a new friendship, or a new future that no one could yet see. But Toma was ready to listen, and Mara was ready to speak. Mara, the human leader, stood quietly beside Toma as they walked toward the Elder Council Hall. The tall white towers of Velar glowed softly in the sunlight. The air smelled fresh, and the sky was bright. It was a peaceful place, very different from Earth, but Mara walked as if she had been there before. Toma watched her carefully. She seemed calm and sure, but not proud. Her steps were slow, respectful. She did not look like someone who wished to take control. She looked like someone who wished to understand. When they reached the council hall, the great doors opened without a sound. Inside, the other elders waited. They sat in a wide circle, their long robes flowing around them like water. Elder Siren sat in the middle. His eyes followed Mara with quiet caution. "Welcome," Siren said after a long silence. His voice was polite but careful. "You asked to speak with us. Now you may." Mara bowed her head lightly. "Thank you, Elder Siren. Thank you, elders of Velar." She spoke slowly, so her words were clear. "We come from Earth. Long ago, our people left these stars. We went far away to learn and grow. Now we have returned. We wish to be part of the star nations again." The hall stayed quiet. The elders listened, but their faces showed little feeling. Elder Bryn spoke next. "You say you have changed. How can we know this is true?" Mara nodded as if she had expected this question. "I understand," she said. "We have made mistakes in the past. We moved too fast. We thought we knew everything. But time teaches all things. We learned that we were not ready. That is why we left. We needed to become better." Toma found her words honest. She did not try to hide their past mistakes. She did not pretend they had been perfect. This made him feel she was telling the truth. Elder Siren's eyes stayed sharp. "And now?" he asked. "What do you bring with you?" Mara smiled gently. "Ourselves," she said, "and the wish to share what we have learned. We bring peace. We bring knowledge. But only if you wish it." Some of the elders exchanged glances. They whispered quietly among themselves. Toma listened, but he did not join their talk. He was watching Mara. He stepped forward. "May I ask something?" he said softly. Siren nodded. "Speak, Toma." Toma turned to Mara. "Why now?" he asked. "Why return at this time?" Mara's gaze was kind. "Because we are ready," she said, "and because we missed the stars. We missed being part of something greater. We missed friends." Her answer was simple. It touched something in Toma's heart. He had always believed there was more to the universe than just fear. Maybe Mara felt the same. Elder Bryn frowned. "How do we know you will not try to change us?" Mara shook her head. "We will not change you. You will choose your own path. We will only walk beside you." There was a long silence in the hall. Then Siren spoke again. "You say many fine words, but we will need time to decide. You may stay for now. You will not be harmed." Mara bowed again. "Thank you." Later, Toma showed Mara the gardens of Velar. The trees were tall, and their leaves shimmered like silver. Birds sang gentle songs. Mara touched the soft grass with her hand and smiled. "Your world is calm," she said. Toma nodded. "We have kept it this way for a long time." Mara was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Do you ever wonder what lies beyond?" Toma smiled. "I do. That is why I am here." Mara laughed softly. It was a light, warm sound. "Then we are alike." As they walked, Toma asked more questions about Earth. Mara spoke of green lands and blue oceans. She spoke of cities that rose high into the clouds but did not harm the land. She spoke of people who had learned to live with care. Toma listened closely. Some things sounded strange, but some things sounded familiar, like they were not so different after all. At the end of the day, Mara looked up at the stars. "We are home again," she said softly. Toma looked at her. "And we are not as alone as we thought," he said. The next day, the Elder Council would meet again. They would talk about Mara's words. Some would still feel fear. Others might feel hope. But Toma had already made his choice. The next morning, the Elder Council gathered once again in the High Hall. Soft light filled the great room as the stars faded from the sky. Elder Siren sat in his place, quiet and thoughtful. The other elders whispered to each other, their voices low and serious. Everyone was waiting. Mara, the human leader, entered with slow, respectful steps. She wore the same simple clothes as before. There was no sign of pride or hurry in her walk. She bowed lightly to the council and took her seat across from the elders. Toma was there too. He stood beside Mara, his face calm but hopeful. He believed this meeting could change everything. Elder Siren began to speak. Mara of Earth, he said slowly, we have listened to your words. Some of us are willing to learn more. Others are still unsure. Today, you may tell us about your people. We wish to understand. Mara nodded. Her eyes were bright but gentle. Thank you, Elder Siren, she said. I will speak with truth. She stood and walked to the center of the hall. A small round stone glowed softly under her hand. Images appeared in the air, clear and bright. The elders leaned forward to watch. This is Earth, Mara said. A picture of a blue and green world floated before them. Oceans sparkled, forests stretched wide, and white clouds drifted in the sky. It was beautiful. Toma stared at the image. He had never seen a world like it. Valor was peaceful, but Earth looked alive in a different way. Mara pointed to the forests. Long ago, we did not care for our world as we should have, she said. The image changed. Some forests were gone. The land looked dry and tired. We made many mistakes. The elders watched closely. Some shook their heads. Elder Bryn sighed softly. But we learned, Mara continued. The picture brightened again. Trees grew back. Rivers flowed clean once more. We fixed what we broke. We became wiser. Elder Siren's eyes narrowed slightly. And you are sure you will not make the same mistakes again? Mara looked at him. We are sure we will try every day to do better, she said. That is all any people can do. For a moment, the hall was quiet. Then Toma stepped forward. What do your people wish to share with us? He asked. Mara smiled gently. We have new ways to grow food, to heal the sick, and to travel between stars, she said. But we do not wish to give you things you do not want. We only wish to offer friendship. Elder Bryn folded his hands. Many years ago, humans were known for moving too fast, he said. You changed worlds without waiting. How do we know you will be patient this time? Mara's voice was steady. We will wait as long as you need, she said. We only ask for a chance. Toma watched the elders carefully. Some looked worried, but others were thinking. He could see it in their eyes. Later, Mara sat with Toma in the garden. The silver leaves of the trees shimmered in the soft breeze. Birds sang softly in the high branches. Mara looked peaceful, but Toma knew these moments were important. Do you think they will trust us? Mara asked quietly. Toma thought for a moment. Some will, he said. Some are afraid. But fear does not last forever. Mara smiled. We have waited a long time to return, she said. We can wait a little longer. They sat in silence for a while. Then Toma asked, why did humans leave the stars so long ago? Mara was quiet before she answered. Because we had much to learn, she said. We thought we knew everything. We were wrong. We needed time to understand ourselves. And now? Toma asked. Now we understand we are just one part of something greater, Mara said. We do not wish to lead. We wish to walk beside others. Toma liked that answer. He felt she spoke from her heart. As the sun set, the garden glowed softly. Mara stood and looked at the stars above. There is so much still to learn, she said. Toma nodded. Yes, and maybe we will learn it together. The next day, the Elder Council would talk again. The decision was not yet made, but something had already changed. Toma could feel it. Mara had planted a seed of trust, and Toma believed it would grow. The next morning, the Elder Council gathered again in the High Hall. Soft blue light came through the windows as the sun rose. Elder Siren sat in silence, deep in thought. Elder Bryn spoke quietly with two others. Elder Toma stood near the door, watching everything carefully. Mara, the human leader, waited outside the hall. She stood quietly in the garden, her hands folded in front of her. Birds sang in the trees above her, but she did not move. She was calm and patient, just as she had promised to be. Finally, Toma stepped out to meet her. "The council is ready," he said gently. Mara nodded. She walked with him toward the great doors. They opened without sound, and the elders all turned their eyes toward her. Elder Siren spoke first. "Mara of Earth," he said, "we have listened to your words. We see that you are patient and careful. But words are not enough." Mara nodded slowly. "I understand." Siren continued, "We wish to know if you are true. We have a test. If you agree, we will ask you to complete it." Mara's gaze was steady. "What is this test?" Siren pointed to the far side of the hall, where a small round table stood. On the table was a small box, made of smooth stone. It glowed softly. "This is the Stone of Echoes," Siren said. "It is very old. It listens to the thoughts of those who hold it. It will show if your heart is peaceful." Mara walked slowly to the table. She stood before the box, her hands at her sides. "What must I do?" she asked. Siren's voice was calm. "Open it and place your hand inside. Think of your wish for peace. If your heart is true, the stone will glow with white light." Toma watched carefully. He had heard of the Stone of Echoes, but had never seen it used. It was said to be honest. It could not be tricked. Mara opened the box slowly. Inside was a small round stone. It looked plain, smooth and gray, but when she touched it, it became warm. She closed her eyes and placed her hand gently on the stone. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the stone began to glow. A soft white light spread through the hall. It was calm and gentle, like moonlight on still water. The elders watched in silence. Mara opened her eyes and stepped back from the table. Elder Siren nodded slowly. "You speak the truth," he said. Elder Bryn still looked cautious. "A peaceful heart is not always enough," he said, "but it is a beginning." Mara bowed her head. "Thank you," she said. The meeting ended soon after, but the feeling in the hall had changed. There was less fear now. The elders spoke more softly, more kindly. Later, Toma walked with Mara through the gardens again. They passed by the silver trees and stopped by a clear pool of water. "You were not afraid," Toma said quietly. Mara smiled gently. "I was ready," she replied. "We did not return to make promises we cannot keep." Toma looked at her for a moment. "Some of the elders may still be unsure," he said. "I know," Mara answered. "Trust takes time. But time is something we have." They sat by the pool for a while. A soft wind moved through the leaves. Mara picked up a small flower from the ground and turned it in her fingers. "This world is peaceful," she said. "It reminds me of how Earth used to be." Toma tilted his head. "And now?" he asked. Mara thought for a moment. "Now Earth is learning how to be peaceful again," she said. "We are not perfect, but we are better than before." Toma smiled faintly. "Perhaps we can learn from each other." Mara nodded. "That is why we are here." As the day ended, a message came from Elder Siren. He asked Mara to return to the High Hall the next morning. There was something important to discuss. Toma looked at Mara as she read the message. "Do you think they will decide soon?" he asked. Mara looked thoughtful. "Maybe," she said, "or maybe they will have another test." Toma smiled. "If there is another test, I think you are ready." Mara smiled too. "I hope so." The stars began to shine above them as night came. Mara stood and looked up at the sky. "It is beautiful," she said softly. Toma stood beside her. Yes, he agreed. And tomorrow, maybe something new will begin. The morning sun rose over Valor. Its golden light touched the silver trees and white stone buildings. Everything looked calm and bright. Mara stood by her window in the guest house, looking out at the beautiful world. She took a deep breath and smiled. Today could be an important day. There was a soft knock on the door. Mara opened it to see Toma waiting outside. His expression was gentle, but there was something new in his eyes. Hope. The council is ready to meet you again, Toma said. Mara nodded. Thank you, Toma. I will come. They walked together through the quiet garden paths toward the high hall. Mara noticed the small details again, the way the flowers turned toward the light, the soft hum in the air as energy moved quietly through the city. Valor was peaceful, and Mara respected that. At the entrance of the high hall, the tall doors opened as they arrived. Inside, the elders sat in a wide circle once more. Elder Siren sat in the center, as usual. His face was thoughtful, but his eyes looked less guarded now. Mara bowed lightly before stepping forward. She stood tall but not proud. She waited calmly for the elders to speak first. Elder Siren began. Mara of Earth, we have seen your truth. We have seen your patience. There are still questions, but we believe you mean no harm. Mara listened quietly. Siren continued. There is a place, far from here. It is an old station called Leora. Long ago, it was a place where many different races met to share ideas and trade knowledge. But it has been quiet for many years. Mara tilted her head slightly. Why is it quiet now? Elder Bryn spoke next. The people stopped visiting. They were afraid. Some feared old mistakes would return if they gathered in one place again. Toma stepped forward. But maybe it is time to open it once more. Siren nodded. We wish to send a message to the others. We wish to show them that change is possible. Mara's eyes brightened. And you wish humans to help? Siren looked directly at her. Yes, we wish you to go to Leora and prepare it to welcome others again. If you can do this with care, it will show the others who you truly are. Mara took a moment to think. She understood this was not just a mission. It was a test of trust. If they did well, the elders and perhaps other races might open their hearts again. I will do my best, Mara said at last, and I will make sure we act with respect. Elder Siren gave a small nod. We will send Toma with you, he said. He knows the history of Leora, and he understands the ways of our people. Toma was surprised but pleased. He gave a slight bow. I will be glad to help, he said. Mara smiled. She was glad for his company. He had become a quiet friend, someone she trusted. Later that day, preparations began. Mara and Toma walked together to the ship that had brought the humans to Valor. It was a smooth silver craft, simple and clean. This ship is smaller than I imagined, Toma said softly. Mara laughed a little. We travel light, she said. We believe it is better to leave less behind. Inside the ship, everything was calm and quiet. The walls glowed softly, and there were no loud sounds. Toma was surprised by how peaceful it felt. You live very simply, Toma said. Mara nodded. We try to live in balance, she answered. As they flew toward Leora Station, Toma watched the stars pass by. He thought about how much things were changing. Not long ago, the elders had feared the return of humans. Now he was flying through space beside one. Mara noticed his quiet thinking. Are you worried? She asked gently. Toma shook his head. No, he said. I am hopeful. Soon, Leora Station appeared before them. It floated in space like a silent guardian, its lights dark but its shape strong and steady. It has been waiting a long time, Toma said. Mara looked at the station with soft eyes. Then it is time to wake it up, she said. They guided the ship toward the station's entrance. The doors opened slowly, as if remembering old times. Inside, the air was still and quiet. Mara and Toma stepped out together. There was work to do, but they were ready. And this was only the beginning. Mara and Toma stepped carefully onto Leora Station. Their footsteps echoed softly in the empty halls. The air was still, quiet, and cool. Long ago, many ships from different stars had come here. People from many worlds had walked these same halls, sharing ideas and stories. But now, it had been silent for many years. Toma looked around with wide eyes. I did not know it would feel so lonely, he said quietly. Mara nodded. We will make it alive again, she said with calm hope in her voice. The control room was not far from the entrance. They moved slowly, their lights shining on smooth walls and old symbols. Toma touched one of the walls gently. These designs were made by the first visitors, he said. They are older than my people. Mara smiled softly. And they are still here, she said, waiting for someone to notice them again. When they reached the control room, Mara looked around carefully. There were smooth panels and seats made for different shapes and sizes. Some were large, others were very small. She could imagine all the different beings who had once sat here. We need to bring light back first, she said. Toma stepped aside as Mara placed her hand on a small round pad. The ship's power pack she carried hummed quietly as it connected with the old systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, lights began to glow along the walls. First one, then another, until the whole room had a soft golden light. Screens woke up, showing simple messages in many languages. Toma smiled. It works, he said with quiet joy. Mara nodded. Leora Station remembers, she replied. They worked together for many hours. Mara checked the systems one by one. Air was still clean, but it needed to move again. She started the old machines that cleaned and refreshed the air. Toma walked through the halls, opening doors and checking rooms. One room had small gardens, dry and empty now. Toma stood there for a long time. He imagined green plants growing again, and people sitting quietly among them. Later, he brought Mara to see the garden room. She looked around and nodded. We will plant new life here, she said. It will be a place of peace again. Mara opened the storage room on their ship. She had brought seeds from Earth, small plants that grew quickly and cleaned the air. She and Toma planted them in the soft ground. The machines brought water, and soon, small green leaves began to appear. It is a start, Toma said. Mara smiled. Sometimes a small thing is enough to bring hope. As days passed, the station changed. The lights were brighter now. The air was fresh. The small gardens grew green again. Mara and Toma cleaned the rooms where visitors had once gathered. They found old chairs, tables, and even some decorations that had been left behind. In one room, they found a large round table. Symbols of many worlds were carved into its edge. This was where leaders once sat, Toma said softly. Mara ran her hand over the smooth stone. And where they can sit again, she replied. When the work was almost finished, Mara sent a message to Elder Siren. Leora Station is awake again, she said. It is ready for visitors. Toma added his own words. And we welcome all who wish to come in peace. Elder Siren's reply came soon after. You have done well. We will send our people to visit, and we will invite others too. Mara and Toma stood together in the great hall of the station. They looked around at what they had brought back to life. Do you think they will come? Toma asked quietly. Mara looked at him with kind eyes. I believe they will. A few days later, small ships began to arrive. The first visitors were from Valar. They came slowly and carefully, but they smiled when they saw what had been done. They walked through the halls, sat in the meeting rooms, and visited the garden where green leaves grew. This place feels safe, one visitor said. Toma nodded. That is what we hoped. Soon after, another ship arrived. It was from a world Mara had never seen. The people were tall, with soft blue skin and bright eyes. They bowed in greeting and entered the station without fear. Mara welcomed them warmly. "This is a place for all," she said. More ships came as time passed. Different beings, different shapes, different voices, all came to Leora Station. Toma smiled often now. "You were right," he told Mara. "They are ready." Mara smiled back. "And this is just the beginning." Leora Station was alive once more, a place of peace and friendship, standing between stars, and humanity had helped bring it back. Leora Station was no longer silent. Life had returned. Beings from different stars walked through the wide halls. Some moved quietly, others spoke in soft voices. Everywhere, there was a feeling of hope. Mara stood by the large window in the gathering hall. She watched as more ships arrived. Their lights blinked gently in the dark space beyond. Some ships were smooth and round, others sharp and tall. But they all came with peace. Toma stood beside her. His hands were folded in front of him, and his face was calm. "I did not think they would come so soon," he said quietly. Mara smiled. "They were waiting," she answered, "for someone to take the first step." Behind them, the hall was ready. A great round table stood in the center, polished and bright. Around it were chairs of many shapes and sizes. The flags of different worlds hung on the walls, soft in the breeze from the station's air system. "This is where they will speak," Toma said. Mara nodded. "And listen," she added. The first group to arrive was from Valar. Elder Siren came with 2 others from the council. They walked slowly into the hall. Siren's eyes moved over everything. He gave a small nod of approval. "You have done well, Mara of Earth," Siren said. "This place is ready." "Thank you," Mara replied simply. Soon after, others entered the hall. A group from a distant water world, their skin soft and pale like pearl. They moved gracefully, like waves. Another group came from a world of tall mountains. Their people were strong and quiet, their voices deep and steady. Mara greeted each group with kindness. Toma stood nearby, offering quiet words of welcome when needed. When all the guests had arrived, Elder Siren stepped forward. He raised his hand, and silence filled the hall. "We gather here," Siren said, his voice clear and calm, "because it is time to listen again. Long ago, we turned away from each other. We closed our doors and our hearts. But now, we open them once more." The people in the room listened carefully. "We are not the same as we were before," Siren continued. "We are older, perhaps wiser. We have seen what happens when fear rules our choices. Now we wish for something better." Mara felt the truth in his words. She could see it in the faces around her. They were ready. Siren turned to Mara. "And it was humanity who returned first," he said. "It was humanity who brought us this chance." Mara stood, feeling every eye in the hall on her. She spoke slowly with care. "We came back," she said, "because we wanted to be part of something greater. We made mistakes before. We know this, but we have changed." Her voice was calm but steady. "We do not ask for trust right away," she said. "We ask for a chance to earn it." There was a soft murmur in the room. Heads nodded. Eyes softened. A representative from the water world spoke next. "You have earned this chance," she said gently. "We are ready to listen." The meeting continued. One by one, the groups shared their hopes. They spoke of their worlds, their fears, and their dreams. Some spoke of old pain. Others spoke of new hope. Mara listened to them all. So did Toma. They asked questions, gave answers, and shared stories of Earth's changes, how humanity had chosen peace, learning, and balance. As the hours passed, something new grew in the room. It was trust. By the end of the gathering, Elder Siren stood again. "This is a good beginning," he said. "We will return. We will meet again." The others agreed. After the gathering ended, Mara and Toma walked through the quiet hallways. They stopped by the garden room, where the green plants had grown taller. "They will return," Toma said. "Yes," Mara agreed. and they will bring others. Toma picked a small leaf from one of the plants and held it up. Life grows when we care for it, he said. Mara smiled. And so does peace. As they stood there, a soft sound filled the air. A new message had arrived. More ships were coming, more voices to join the circle. Mara looked at Toma. Shall we welcome them? Toma nodded. Yes, he said. Let's welcome them all. Together, they walked toward the landing bay. Lyora Station was no longer a place of silence. It was a home for all who wished for peace, and humanity had helped light the way. Lyora Station was busy now. Every day, more ships arrived. Some were large and round. Others were small and quick. The landing bays were filled with life. Different beings stepped out of their ships and looked around in wonder. They spoke many languages and had different ways of greeting, but all shared the same hope for peace and friendship. Mara stood at the main entrance of the station. She welcomed each visitor with a kind smile and a gentle word. She had learned a few greetings in other languages, and many guests were pleased when she tried to speak their words. Toma worked beside her. He helped new visitors find their way to the meeting halls and gardens. His calm voice made even the shy guests feel safe. One day, as Mara waited at the entrance, a ship unlike any other arrived. It was bright gold and shaped like a long feather. It floated quietly and gracefully, landing without a sound. Toma stood beside Mara, watching with interest. I have not seen a ship like this, he said softly. Mara shook her head. Nor have I, she replied. The doors of the ship opened. A group of beings stepped out. They were tall and very thin, with pale silver skin. Their eyes were clear like glass, and they moved with quiet grace. Toma took a slow breath. The elders feared them once, he said. They are called the Alari. Mara had heard stories of the Alari. Long ago, they were leaders of great knowledge. But after the Great Silence, they disappeared. Many believed they would never return. Now they stood before her. Mara took a careful step forward and bowed her head. Welcome to Lyora Station, she said gently. We are honored by your visit. The leader of the Alari stepped closer. He watched Mara quietly for a moment. Then he spoke, his voice like soft wind. We have watched from afar, he said, and we have seen much change. Mara lifted her head. Yes, she answered. Much has changed. The Alari leader nodded. We came to see if it was true, he said. That trust can live again. Mara gave a small smile. You are here, she said softly. That is a beginning. The Alari followed Mara and Toma to the great hall. Other visitors turned to watch as they entered. There was silence at first, then soft whispers. The Alari had returned. Many wondered what would happen next. Elder Siren was already there. When he saw the Alari, he stood and gave a respectful nod. We welcome you, he said. The Alari leader returned the nod. We are here to listen, he replied. The meeting that day was special. Each group spoke of what they had lost when the Great Silence began. They shared stories of sadness, but also of hope. When it was Mara's turn, she spoke clearly. We lost much when we turned away from one another, she said, but we can choose something better now. The Alari listened closely. Their clear eyes watched every speaker. When it was their turn, their leader stood. We left because we feared what would come, he said. But fear should not decide our future. We wish to stand in the circle once more. Soft sounds of agreement came from around the table. Elder Siren spoke next. Then let this circle be complete again, he said. A new flag was hung on the wall that day, the flag of the Alari. The circle of trust was growing. Later, Mara and Toma sat in the garden. The leaves were green and full. Small flowers had begun to bloom. Birds from distant worlds sang gentle songs in the trees. You did it, Toma said quietly. They have returned. Mara smiled. We did it, she said, together. As they sat in peace, a message arrived. Another group wished to visit. They came from a world thought lost, far beyond known stars. Toma looked at Mara. "Shall we open the doors again?" Mara nodded. "Yes," she said. "We will open them for all who wish to come in peace." And so, Leora Station continued to shine as a place of hope. The circle of trust grew wider, and the voices of many worlds joined together. And humanity, once feared, now stood at the heart of it. The lights of Leora Station glowed softly against the endless night of space. It had been many months since Mara and Toma first opened its doors. Now the station was full of life, laughter, and learning. Ships from every corner of the stars came and went. The great halls were always filled with voices, speaking different languages, but all sharing one purpose: peace. Mara walked through the garden hall, her hand brushing the leaves of a tall green plant. Flowers bloomed brightly, their colors shining in the gentle light. Birds sang sweet songs from the branches. The garden was now a place where many visitors came to sit and rest. Toma sat near the fountain, watching the small fish swim in circles. When he saw Mara, he smiled. "It feels like home," he said. Mara nodded. "It is home," she replied, "for all of us." That day was special. It was the first gathering of unity, a meeting where all the leaders of different worlds would sit together. They would talk about how to work as one. It had not happened for many, many years. Mara and Toma stood together at the entrance of the great hall, ready to welcome the guests. The first to arrive were Elder Siren and the Valar. Siren smiled as he saw how bright the hall looked. "It is more beautiful than I imagined," he said. Next came the gentle people from the water world, moving gracefully as they took their seats. Then the tall, strong people of the mountains arrived, their quiet strength making others feel safe. Soon after, the Eleri entered. They walked in silence, but their clear eyes showed peace. They took their place without fear. Mara smiled as each group came. She remembered when they were unsure and afraid. Now they came freely, with open hearts. At last, a new ship arrived. It was large and bright silver, with long wings that shone like mirrors. The people who stepped out were not known to anyone there. Their clothes were simple, and their faces calm. Toma looked at Mara. "Who are they?" he asked softly. Mara shook her head. "I don't know," she said, "but they come in peace." The leader of the new group stepped forward and bowed. "We are from Isla," she said. "Long ago, we left because we thought the stars were silent. But we heard your message. We heard the call for peace." Mara smiled warmly. "You are welcome," she said. "Leora Station is open to all." When everyone had gathered, Elder Siren stood and raised his hand. The room grew quiet. "This is a day we have waited for," Siren said. "Today we sit together again, not as strangers, but as friends." Mara and Toma listened as each leader spoke. They talked about their hopes and their plans. They spoke about trade, learning, and sharing knowledge. They'd promised to protect peace and to help each other. Then it was Mara's turn to speak. She stood up slowly and looked around the room. "Humanity was once afraid," she said. "We made mistakes. But we chose to try again, and because of that choice, we are here together." Her voice was calm but strong. "We are many worlds, many people," she said, "but we share the same stars, and we can share peace too." The room was quiet for a moment. Then one by one, leaders nodded in agreement. After the meeting ended, there was a great feast. The tables were filled with foods from many worlds. Some dishes glowed softly, others made sweet sounds when eaten. People laughed and shared stories. Toma tried a fruit that changed color with each bite. He laughed and offered one to Mara. She smiled and took a small bite. It turned bright purple in her hand. "Delicious," she said. Later, music filled the halls. Songs from different planets were played. Some were soft and slow, others were fast and full of joy. Some visitors danced, while others watched with happy eyes. As the gathering ended, the leaders stood together once more. "We will return," said the leader from Isla. "We will stand together," said Elder Siren. Mara and Toma watched as the ships left the station. Their lights blinked in the dark sky, but it did not feel lonely. It felt full of life. Toma turned to Mara. "Do you think this will last?" he asked. Mara nodded. "Yes," she said, "because we choose it, every day." And as Leora Station floated quietly between the stars, it shone like a light of hope. A new dawn had begun, not just for one world, but for all. Humanity had taken the first step, and now they walked together with many others, side by side, toward a better future.